They didn't just call this car fast, they called it Godzilla, a monster. And they didn't give it that name because of a number on a spec sheet. They gave it that name because this car went racing and won so completely, so ruthlessly, that the people running the sport eventually changed the rules just to make it stop. On paper, it made only 276 horsepower, the same as a lot of ordinary sports cars of its time. So how does a car with an ordinary power rating become a monster that had to be banned for winning too much? Because Nissan hid two secrets inside it. One was an engine that was lying about how strong it really was. The other was a computer brain, decades ahead of its time, that let this car cheat physics itself. This is the Nissan Skyline GT-R, and this is how it pushed the RB26 beyond every limit it was supposed to have. Let's start with that engine, because the number is a lie, and it's the same beautiful lie we've seen before. The GT-R was powered by an engine called the RB26 DETT, a 2.6-liter, twin-turbocharged inline-six, and officially, in Japan, it made 276 horsepower. But at the time, Japanese car makers had a gentleman's agreement never to advertise more than 276, no matter what the engine actually made. So Nissan built this engine, quietly gave it far more capability than they admitted, and sent it out into the world. But here's what makes the RB26 different from an ordinary engine. Nissan didn't design it to be a nice road car engine. They designed it to go racing and win. Every single part of it was built with a racing future in mind, which means it was born overbuilt, born ready to be pushed. The clearest sign of this is something hidden in the intake. Most engines feed air to their cylinders through one shared path. The RB26 doesn't. It has 6 individual throttle bodies, one dedicated air path for every single cylinder. That's the kind of thing you find on a pure race engine, because it gives razor-sharp throttle response and lets the engine breathe hard at high RPM. Putting that in a road car was almost ridiculous. It was expensive, it was complex, and it told you everything about what this engine was really for. Underneath, the block was strong, the bottom end was tough, and just like its great rival, the 2JZ, tuners quickly discovered that the RB26 would happily accept double, triple, even more of its rated power without falling apart. The 276 number wasn't a limit, it was a starting line. But a strong engine alone doesn't make a monster. Plenty of cars had powerful engines and still lost. What made the GT-R untouchable was the second secret, and this is the part that was genuinely from the future. It's called ATTESA E-TS. In plain English, it's an incredibly smart all-wheel drive system, and to understand why it was such a big deal, you have to understand the problem it solved. For decades, there was a trade-off in fast cars. Rear-wheel drive cars were fun and light, but when you put down big power, the rear tires would spin and you'd lose grip, especially in the wet or out of a corner. All-wheel drive cars had grip, but they were usually heavier, more sluggish, and felt numb to drive. You picked one. Nissan refused to pick. They wanted the fun of rear-wheel drive and the grip of all-wheel drive at the same time, so they built a system with a brain. Normally, the GT-R sends all its power to the rear wheels, so it feels like a proper sporty rear-wheel drive car. But hidden inside is a computer constantly watching what the car is doing. It's checking the wheels, the G-forces, how hard you're accelerating, many times every second. And the instant it senses the rear tires starting to lose grip, it does something clever. It instantly fires power to the front wheels too, exactly as much as needed, to claw the car back into grip. Then, when the danger passes, it hands the power back to the rear. It's happening constantly, faster than any human could ever react. An invisible co-driver managing grip for you. So the GT-R could put its power down where rivals were spinning their wheels helplessly. Out of a corner, in the rain, on a cold track, the GT-R just hooked up and launched while everyone else struggled. It was, in a very real sense, cheating physics. And Nissan wasn't done. They added another trick called Super Hikas, a system that could actually steer the rear wheels a tiny amount. At speed, this made the big, heavy GT-R turn and change direction with a sharpness it had no right to have. So now think about what they'd built. An overbuilt race engine pretending to be a road car engine. A computer brain that gave it perfect grip. Rear wheels that helped it turn. A car engineered from the ground up not just to be fast, but to win. And win it did. When the GT-R went touring car racing, it didn't just beat the competition. It humiliated it. In Japan, it won race after race after race, an unbroken streak that made a mockery of the entire field. In Australia, it steamrolled the championship so completely that a magazine gave it the nickname that stuck forever, Godzilla. the monster from Japan that destroyed everything in its path. And here's the twist that makes this story so wild. The GT-R was so dominant that it essentially won itself out of a job. In Australia, the authorities looked at this unbeatable machine, decided the racing had become pointless, and changed the rules in a way that pushed the GT-R out. The category it was built to conquer was scrapped. The car was simply too good for the sport to survive. It got punished, not for cheating, but for winning too well. Then came the second life, the one most people know it for. When the R34 generation, with its aggressive squared-off body and that unmistakable rear wing, became a star of street racing films, video games, and car culture around the world, the legend exploded far beyond racing. Suddenly, this wasn't just a car that mechanics and racers respected. It was a poster on millions of bedroom walls. The blue R34 GT-R became one of the most famous cars on the planet, and prices for real ones eventually shot into the hundreds of thousands. A car that once cost the same as a nice sedan became an untouchable icon. But here's the final twist, and it's the end of a bloodline. That combination that made the GT-R a legend, the RB26 straight six, the analog feel mixed with that clever early computer, was a product of a specific moment. When Nissan finally brought the GT-R name back years later, they didn't use the RB26 anymore. They didn't even use a straight six. They moved to a completely different V6 engine and a new philosophy, which means the RB26-powered Skyline GT-R, the original Godzilla, was the end of a lineage that will never return. Nissan built a car so advanced it broke the racing it was born for, so beloved it became a global icon, and then quietly closed the book on the exact formula that made it special. The RB26 didn't die because it wasn't good enough. It died because nothing was ever built quite like it again. So what do you think? Was the Skyline GT-R the greatest all-rounder ever built, or would you still take its rival, the Supra? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, subscribing really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.